So I spent $4,000 on 8 pallets of unclaimed and lost cargo. A little sneak peek there for you. So let's hop in, find hopefully the treasures that are in here so I don't go out of business. Hey, what's up guys? Kyle here, Thrift Boss channel here on YouTube. Appreciate you coming back, hanging out with me. Back at it again. We bought 8 pallets this time, just over $600 a piece for these lost and unclaimed cargo. You guys, I did a video maybe three weeks ago or so, and you guys had some amazing questions that I want to follow up with in this video here. So if you have more questions of stuff that's not covered, please do ask, as I do these pallets 2 or 3 times a month anyway, anywhere from say 2 to 3 pallets up to, this is the most I bought in a while, 8 of them. I only picked up 3 today because that's the most I can fit at one time in my truck without renting a U-Haul. But let's hop into this stuff. I know there are some folks out there who like to kind of go through and see me dig through everything, and then there are other folks who just kind of like to see highlighted the treasures there within. So I'm going to do a little bit of both. Maybe I'll show a little bit of the process, but as you can see, there are thousands of items. These are roughly 300 to 400 pounds depending. Each box varies, but there are thousands of items in these things. So overall it takes about 3 hours to get through all this stuff for the 2 boxes. But I'll go through this and highlight some of the stuff that we find later on, and also highlight some of the process as some of the questions that you guys had. First box is cleared out. Miraculously, there was this iced coffee right at the bottom of the box, so that's a real big score. This is number 1 of 8. As for stuff that's going online, doesn't look like much. It's actually very little amount this time around, but there's some good stuff. This, I'm not gonna show you everything down here, but this, I've sold this multiple times, and this is like the $50–$60 range. This controller here, you can see it's like the 125 to 150 range. This was the big score of this particular box. You can see what it is there. Red Magic Astra gaming tablet, and it looks to be about 500 bucks on eBay. So, that almost covers the cost. I mean, that covers about, roughly 60–70% alone, even after fees and shipping and all that. So that's great. These Pura things, like we said, they run anywhere from like 35 to 50-ish bucks. This Apollo carbon monoxide and smoke detector. These things, you can this is a good brand, and I think it's kind of under the radar. People might not know about this, but this is like 50 to 60 bucks as well. Then there's some other stuff down there, some Halloween costumes that probably have some value. This is a what do we got? This Ditz Designs, and this is a polar bear, and the bigger the polar bear, the more the money on these things. And this is I think this looks like maybe a 24 to 30 inch one, and I think this is like a 50 to 60, maybe $70. So we can talk about what's just on top of this. So when I'm bidding on these things, this is all you really get pictures of, is just the stuff that's on top here, and you're just making your best guess based on the values of things. And with experience, just like anything, you kind of get better of estimating the cost, and you get to see a lot of brands and familiar products over and over again. However, that said, as I've mentioned in previous videos, about 50 to 60% of this stuff is really low value, that not even suitable to go to a flea market. Then you have roughly 25-ish% or so that ends up going straight to a flea market, where I sell anything from, I have a giant dollar bin. Like some good examples of dollar bin stuff would be things like this. It's no brand, just cheap stuff. No brand, little teddy bear, little sticker sets. Like, these things are all $1. Here's see if this pertains to you. And then again, unbranded, these things, these plush, this one I would do for $1. This one I might be able to get actually $2 for, but you get the gist of just seeing some of this stuff on top. I do have so much stuff that I'm pretty generous in terms of how I price things, because I just need to move a lot of stuff, as I do bring thousands of items in a given weekend to the flea market. These things sell really fast. I actually talked about this in my last video, these Pura fragrance diffusers. I talked about the scents. I'm not sure if this one has the scents inside or not, but if they come with 2 different scents, you can get a little bit of a premium. You can also sell the scents separately, and they go for good money. Pretty rare that you see something really amazing on top, and in the occasion that you do, those boxes get bid up really quickly. Sometimes they go double in price, just like if you were to see something like an expensive Lego on top, or some sort of like Cuisinart or KitchenAid. just really, well-known, decently priced retail items, they can really skyrocket the price. But generally speaking, it's just this is what an average top of the box might look at. You see another Pura, so this is a good sign, and these sell really fast. I had close to 10 of these particular ones in my last set of pallets, and that was 10 days ago, and they already all sold out, because a lot of the money back that I get on these happens to be in the dollar box form, which I said I paid roughly about $625 all in on these things, and there's going to be at least 200 to 250 things per box here that go straight to the dollar bin, and people love dollar bins. That's where they're spending money on things they don't necessarily want or need, but when it's in their face and it's $1, they can't refuse. Then we got the question of flea market, how much it costs to sell at the flea market, because I obviously I talk a lot about selling at flea market, and a lot of the stuff, as you can see, ends up at the flea market. So I do an outdoor flea market, and it costs $45, but that includes a $10 deposit. You get your $10 back after you clean your space at the end of the day. I'm usually in by, say, between 6:30 and 7, and then I'm usually out by 10:30. So really it's about a 4-hour day overall, and $35 to rent the space for the day. And I walk away anywhere from, on the very, very low end, it's usually $7 to $750. And then on the upper ends, so far, my experience has been, I think one day I made close to $1,500. Lately averaging about $1,000 to $1,200, somewhere in that. So obviously really good money for just a couple hours. And like I said, it's very much a lot, almost always exclusively 60% of the time, 90% of the time, it's all profit, baby. See my help? That's what I'm dealing with. That. It's about halfway through. Already got some pretty cool goodies before I start the question. We got a bunch of, this whole thing is Funko Pops, and these are specialty ones. I don't know if you can see Superior Iron Man there, and then this one is a chopper statue. It's a bronze version of a one piece. Anyway, I'll put it on the screen if I think of it. And then we got this cool Asus. Well, I don't know what the value is, but I put it because it looks like money. It's nice. I want to highlight this question. It's basically about the mechanics of pickup or having it delivered. I want to highlight this one because there are a lot of variables if this is something that you're interested in getting into. So stuff to know up front. And I can't speak to every company's policies of how this stuff works. But the facility that I do this at, the company that I do this at, it's about half hour away. So I choose to pick up myself. They do not deliver themselves. They will help coordinate shipping with a third party, but they have like recommendations they can give you once they get to know you. But for the most part, if you were to purchase and want a third party, that's for you to work out between all parties and coordinate that. I have depending, like this time I bought eight pallets overall. And sometimes, depending on the state of my life or the state of my inventory, if I'm going to pick up 8, I'll rent a U-Haul truck and drive over and pick them all up at once. What I've been doing lately, though, is picking up. I can basically pick up about 3 at a time. 2 fit in the back of my pickup truck, and then a third I unload at the facility's parking lot and put all the contents into the back of my the back seat. So there are folks there that drive like a minivan, and they'll just put everything, they manually take everything out of whatever they buy and stuff it into their minivan. So there's a lot of different options. In terms of getting it onto my truck, yes, the facility has a forklift that puts it onto the truck. Obviously, it's up to you to get it off at home. And another thing regarding if you get like a third party pickup and delivery service, to work out with them ahead of time, because they'll charge based on your needs at the drop-off location. So if you're having them deliver to a residential address, there's usually a fee for doing that, because it's harder for the trucks. It takes more time. It's more intensive energy-wise, resource-wise time to bring it to like a residential neighborhood versus going to like a warehouse that might have garage doors or bay openings, or they can just pull right in, that if they might not need a forklift or a pallet jack. basically everything incurs an additional fee the harder the delivery is. So keep that in mind if they are delivering to your house, for example. You also have to let them know that they'll need to provide a forklift or pallet jack or some way to get it off of their truck into your driveway. There's these Amazon. These usually you get like one per box or so, and these are tricky because sometimes what Amazon does, they'll ship it straight. You know, they have that identifier. I don't know if it's going to focus here, but they have that like basically like a serial number on the bottom of the box. And when somebody buys this directly on their Amazon account, for example, it'll be automatically attached to their account. So if in the case that it goes missing in the mail, which is where these things come from, the unclaimed and lost cargo, sometimes they will automatically shut this device off. That goes with all of Amazon products. With the Fire Sticks, I've had pretty good luck, but some of their other products like the tablets, their TVs, their speakers, anything that connects to like Alexa, seems to be shut off if it doesn't get to the intended recipient. So but this, you know, assuming this is fine, I think this probably sells in the $40 range. And there's a question about cherry picking. Are people going and taking stuff off the top, taking the good stuff off the top? And it's a little bit of a long-winded answer. It's certainly possible. Do I think it's happening? No. The reason why is because I've been doing this for about 8 years, and I bought 400 to 500 pallets overall. And if somebody is happening to do that, they're doing a really awful job because there's so much good stuff in these. You know, of the 400 to 500 pallets that I bought, I'd say only a handful or less have been real duds. And that's not because somebody cherry picked the good stuff out. It's because overall it was like a pallet of sponges or like a really cheap, really low end alarm clocks, or just really like it's just a bad pallet overall. The worst that these things could do on average would be doubling my money. And that's just talking about strictly like stuff selling online. That's not accounting for flea market. Flea markets push these things over the edge. Sometimes you really get an amazing, where you make 8 times your money or 4 times your money. These things are really good. So I'd be shocked if somebody's cherry picking off these things. They need to find a better job because they're doing an awful job at stealing. I will say that there are companies out there where I'm aware they buy like wholesale or liquidation, and they take the good stuff out and then, resell. And they resell the wholesale again to other resellers. I know that those companies do exist, and I am also aware in the past I have seen, for example, like an Apple Watch where you find an empty box in one of these pallets and there's no watch. But where that happens in the line, in the chain of things, it's very possible somebody along the lines of these things picked it and stole it and just threw the box back in. Yes, that's certainly possible. However, it's also possible that somebody like bought it on Apple or Amazon and then kept the watch and returned did a fraudulent return and just returned an empty box, and for whatever reason that ended up in the lost cargo pallet. So where that happens, who knows? But it's kind of irrelevant because, as I'm saying, like, I've just done these for so long, and the value of these tends to be really, really great. So if they are cherry picking, they're missing a lot. If you were new to these, you'd get a good feel after doing it the first time. If you bought one pallet, it could go either way. You could get a really good one and think they're all going to be like that. You could buy, like for example, my brother bought one, and there's no indication what was under the. You're basically bidding on the top layer. And there's no indication. He got, I don't even know, I think it was like $8,000 or $12,000 worth of Legos that you couldn't see when he was bidding, but it just happened to be in there. And it was the first pallet he ever opened. And I was like, that's probably one of the best pallets I've ever seen in my life overall, to have that much good stuff in it. Still to this day, like I said, 8 years I've been doing this, and, between 400 and 500 pallets. So that was a very big exception. That's probably never going to happen again. For example, it might be a once in a lifetime type of pallet. That said, what was I going to say? And then you could also buy one and get, like I mentioned, like a whole pallet full of, $2 cheap non-brand sponges or something. Then you could be like, well, these things are a waste of money. I'm never going to do this again. So those are extremes. But if you buy a sample size of, say, like a handful of pallets, that would definitely give you a good idea to know if the company that you're buying or doing business with, it would be worthwhile, if this is worth investigating. Ended up with all the donation stuff here, which, as predicted, roughly half the box goes straight to donation. This is all $1 and up stuff. Usually this is a little low. Usually I have a couple boxes of $2+ stuff, but you can see this is actually was in my eBay store because I think it sells for like 75-ish bucks, but it's sat there for about 8 months. So now it's headed off to the flea market, and I'll sacrifice it for probably like the $20 range. So nothing too crazy in here, but this all goes to the flea market. This is all stuff to get sorted that goes into like a general dollar bin, small stuff. And again, these are all everything in black bags. This ends up being dollar stuff, so roughly 40 to 50 items per bag. So you're looking at like 150 bucks there. That's some other good stuff in the flea market here. These are some others, unfinished dollar bag type stuff, so you can see what goes in there. It's actually stuff I could probably sell for more than $1, but like I said, I just have so much stuff, and this is almost pure profit, as the stuff that I get for eBay pretty much covers the cost of the box. So set aside some of the highlights. This is basically what you see here. I didn't bring anything up to my office yet. This is everything that came from the 3 pallets. You know, it's maybe half a pallet overall. I just left a few things out. I didn't put, I'm not sure if I'll put screens or prices of everything on the screen, but this was about 100 bucks. This same thing is about 100 bucks. A little Bose speaker, which I think was also in the $75 to $100 range. Don't recall what this was, but it was something like 150-ish bucks. This, I think you saw in the first thing, that was about 125 to 150. This Keats, which is a brand to keep an eye out for. They started with clothing, I believe, but now they're branching out and they're doing crossover. This is actually like a nice set of silverware. So, well, I don't know that company. I'm guessing they have something to do with like kitchen goods or whatever. But this brand, they're also making they make blankets, and I think they also got into some other kinds of retail goods, but I don't recall. But anyway, just look out for Keats. Their clothes are really popular and good quality. Warhammer, this was brand new. This seems to be in the $200 range. This Logitech, this looks obviously used, but I think it's still in the $75 to $100 range. So none of that's accounting for a lot of this stuff in here. And in these buckets are things that just add up. There are $50 items, $40 items. I think that Ninja thing is like 75-ish. So there's a lot of those $25 to $75 items throughout these things, and that's where that's the majority of the stuff. And these things are just kind of some of the highlights. So even just this stuff, let's just say it's 100 for simple math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we know this is like 500, 1200. On the low end, that stuff you're looking at is between $1,250 and $1,500 of just that stuff. I paid for those three $1,800. So you can see how it really is going to add up when I have all the, I don't know, there's probably 100 or 75 items that are going to be in the $25 to $50 range, and maybe there's a few things under $25, but there's just a lot of good stuff, and you can see why all this is going to be more than profitable already, paying for the pallets, and we haven't even dug into the probably close to $1,000 of just flea market stuff that I get cash.